This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and happy Friday, everyone. I'm Stacy Van Dyke.
And I'm Justin Betty. Take a look behind us here. These are whiteout conditions tonight in the valley, if you can even see them. If you don't have to travel tonight, please stay home.
And as Hutch tells us, we may run into even more travel trouble tomorrow. Let's quickly get over to him for the latest. Hutch?
Wind the big culprit as we headed through the afternoon and evening hours today. And first and foremost, that camera shot that you had there showing the story there. Here's a look at the Home of Economy location in Devil's Lake. So the wind is a problem in many locations. And as we take a look at the latest goings on, we want to make sure that you are aware that the Minnesota Department of Transportation has issued a no travel advisory. This is for the west central portions and the Fargo-Moorhead district here in west central Minnesota. So any of these purple roadways, including Highway 10 all the way out to Becker County. We've also got Highway 75 north and south, and this is I-94 down towards Fergus Falls. No travel advised. Blowing snow and the wind is coming out of the south is causing very icy conditions. Numerous crashes, even in the FM Metro. As we headed into the evening, most of our snowfall is exiting the area right now, but those winds are gusting out of the south-southeast where you see the colors here. 50-mile-per-hour gusts near Watertown and gusts to near 40 miles per hour in Fargo to Fergus Falls, causing a lot of slippery conditions, reduced visibilities at times, a half mile or less. So keep that in mind, particularly when you get out into open country. For the overnight hours, winter weather advisory for our area, and now we're expanding one for tomorrow. As we have a first alert weather day for your Saturday, we are expecting more wind, more blowing snow, and potential ground blizzard conditions. Hour by hour details on that coming up here in moments.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
Well, tomorrow, thousands of fans will watch the North Dakota State Bison face the Montana State Bobcats, the FCS Football National Championship.
However, for fans looking to get down to that game in person, it was easier said than done with so many canceled flights. Valley News Team's Devin Fry joins us live from Frisco with how some fans took a different approach. Devin?
That's right, guys. Getting down here to Frisco was a discussion in and of itself. We're down here safe now. We're actually in front of the Omni Hotel where the Bison football team is staying as they get ready for their matchup with Montana State. We're on some Dallas Cowboy turf out here, down here in Frisco. Now, like I said, the biggest discussion coming into this weekend was getting down here for Bison fans. Numerous flights were canceled both out of Fargo and Minneapolis. We got hit by that. We tried to fly out 3 different times before we finally got down here to Frisco yesterday. One group of fans, however, they found a different way to make the trip.
The road to Frisco was a bumpy one for many fans this year, but Bison Nation found their way to Frisco. While airline travels affected many, one group of fans found a workaround. They bought an NDSU-themed bus and made the 1,300-mile drive to Frisco.
We're looking at airlines canceling flights, and we decided that we're going to buy something maybe or get another alternative trip to Frisco. So we get on Bizman. We might have been a couple 30 packs deep, but we did find a bus on Bizman, and we decided that maybe we should own it, and the story's only grown from there.
They bought the bus from another Bison fan who'd been using this vehicle for years, making the trip down whenever the Bison reached the national championship game.
And we've been down to Frisco with it 6 or 7 times, but now our kids are getting older and they're getting their own kids, so they couldn't make the trip much anymore, so we thought, well, it's time for someone else to have fun with the bus.
Everyone we talked to after they completed this long trip before game day told us they enjoyed the road trip experience a lot more than catching flights.
I'm not a fan of airports. I mean, you sit in airports and you have all the drama and everything else. Everybody's mad at somebody, but we had fun on the bus because we were with our friends. It's cheaper beer.
When you're all in together, you can play cards and visit the whole way, and that's what made it more fun, made it more family experiences and memories.
After the fun they had on the trip to Frisco this year, you can expect to keep seeing this bus in Texas when the Bison are playing for a national title.
I mean, we've had a great ride. So I think that, yeah, we have other trips planned. We talked down here. It's probably one of the best trips we've had in a long time, so it's always a good time.
It is always a good time. I've been thinking about asking for a special Valley News Live sports bus just for trips like this. They just seem to have such a good time there on the bus. They got down here in the nick of time too. You can see behind me here fans filling into the hotels, the bars, the restaurants. There are Bison and Montana State fans here filling things up in Frisco. Now, Beth is going to have more coming up in sports about what we can expect for that national championship game between these two teams. But for right now, reporting from Frisco, Devin Fry, Valley News Live Sports.
Thanks so much, Devin. And don't forget about NDSU's Bison Tracker app. It shows real-time updates of the thousands making their way down to Frisco, Texas for the game tomorrow. Fans are encouraged to use the hashtag #FargoToFrisco on Twitter to show their Bison pride.
Well, as the winter chill continues outside, places like homeless shelters are crucial for those needing a warm place to spend the night.
Valley News Live's Aaron Walling visited some of the shelters in the Fargo-Moorhead area that are focusing on those in need.
The kind of temperatures that we're having right now are just not compatible with human survival.
The extreme cold is heavily impacting homeless shelters in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Despite overflows and overcrowding, it is important to them to keep helping those in need, despite the circumstances.
For folks in our community who are experiencing homelessness, particularly those who are currently unsheltered, the ability to access shelter in a warm building can be the difference between life and death.
Aaron Prochnow, the CEO at YWCA, says during this time of year, some women stay in abusive situations because they don't want to be homeless during the dead of winter. That's where shelters like YWCA have stepped in to give those struggling an avenue to escape.
Select to stay with an abusive situation rather than flee in cold temperatures like this for fear of having to sleep in their car or otherwise and subject their children to that as well.
Sue Kesterman, who is a pastor and the CEO for Churches United, says that it comes down to helping those during these difficult times.
All of us face difficult times in our lives, and we need friends and family and neighbors in our community to walk with us when we are experiencing tough times.
In Fargo, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
And Kesterman says there is a system in place, so if one shelter is full, they can communicate and see if another space is available.
Fargo and West Fargo students were out of school today because of the bitter cold. Valley bus officials tell us the overnight and early morning Arctic air causes some buses to break down. Others won't even turn on. They say today it just wasn't worth the risk.
We had more buses breaking down out there in the cold, which does happen on extremely frigid days. We might have kids that are waiting on street corners for 15, 20 minutes, even longer. And that is a scary thought when it's 48 below wind chill.
Across the river, school was still in session for Moorhead students. We made a call to Richard Bus, and they say they had one bus break down today.
Meanwhile, school also in session up in Grand Forks. Many parents say they decided against sending their kids to school today, while others say they were late for work so they could drive their students to class instead of them leaving and waiting for the bus stop.
Children are more prone to frostbite and hypothermia, and it happens so fast, and if an emergency were to occur at the schools, it could be really bad news.
In a statement to Valley News Live, Grand Forks Public Schools says there were no concerns expressed for them from busing or the heating systems within the school. It hurts to be outside on nights like tonight, and if you're out there too long, the cold can legitimately hurt you.
Uncovered skin can develop frostbite in a matter of minutes. Valley News Team's Alex Larson joins us now with her story on the damage it can do. Alex?
Stacy, Justin, here's proof that frostbite can happen to anyone. That's my foot there in the monitor. Last winter, I took a tumble outside and was unconscious for more than 4 hours. When I woke up, I noticed my shoes had fallen off and I couldn't feel my feet. They were rock solid and I could not warm them up. When I went into the emergency room, the doctor told me I had frostbite.
Frostbite can result in having to get amputations.
Luckily, amputation is not a part of my story, but it was pretty traumatic. It started in the ER.
Cases that we see in the emergency department will, if you come in, we'll put you in, we'll thaw it very quickly. You got to be in a hospital to do it because it's painful. We got to give you pain meds. We got to reverse it quickly. You never want to do that outside of the hospital. And if it's real bad, we'll get the surgeons and the burn surgeons involved.
From the emergency room, I was referred to a specialist, then allowed to go home, but frostbite is a slow burn, so it gets a lot worse before it gets better.
Most people don't seek medical care. Hopefully it's just first degree. And then they notice that pain, and they look at it the next morning and go, gosh, what just happened? Something's bad with my foot or my hand.
Frostbite can be reversed with the right treatment. That's what happened in my case, but you have to know the signs.
look and your feet are really cold, or your hands and they're almost getting hard, then you're gonna have to be worried about that. If you start warming up and it is so painful you can barely stand it, that means it was a deeper cold. If you start seeing blisters develop, that means you've developed some form of frostbite, usually first degree.
Eventually, my feet blistered. One toe was starting to turn purple, and I was given creams to dry my feet up. A thick layer slowly came off my entire foot in sheets. Walking meant I was risking the possibility of long-term problems. I wasn't able to walk far for more than a month. So this is a reminder to dress for the weather and avoid long exposure to the cold. Stacy, Justin?
Just such a crazy story, Alex. We're so glad you're okay. And Essentia Health says if you think you have frostbite, seek medical attention as soon as you can. Later here on Valley News Live at 10, our live coverage from Frisco continues as there's some big news for Bison fans on the injury front.
And very cold temperatures this morning, near 30 below in Grand Forks and Fargo. Cavalier at 33 below, 36 below out in Park Rapids. Tomorrow morning will be the mildest part of the day, and then things get very wild. More wind, potential ground blizzard conditions for some. We'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast coming up right after this.